Hello and welcome to Smaulgld. In case you missed it, top gold and silver stories for the week ended November 26, 2017. It doesn't matter what you or Jamin Dimon think about Bitcoin. Bitcoin blows past $9,200. Before we get started, I wanted to let you know, some people ask me, can you ever buy silver at the spot price? And the answer is often no. But today only, we have a special here from bjsc.com. You can get 90% US silver coins at the spot price with no limits. That sale ends today. It is a Black Friday special left over. I'll leave the links below. This YouTube, this VidMe, and this BitChute, and also on the Smaulgld websites. These are dimes and quarters, pre-1965, and you can get them in unlimited quantities. Today is the last day of this special, so you want to check that out if you're interested in buying gold or silver. So here are some of the stories we're going to cover today. More cracks appear in the Chinese market and economy. Russia continues to add to its gold stack. Some interesting comments regarding Russia's gold acquisitions coming out of Russia. Gold fund to invest in cryptocurrencies. Gold money has an application to open in China, and regulations favorable to cryptocurrencies are coming in South Korea, Belarus, and Bermuda. And crypto hippies celebrate further rises in Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, and other cryptocurrencies. And of course, we have COMEX Bitcoin futures coming later on in December. And the BRICS, that's Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, apparently are mulling, according to Sputnik or TASS, the Russian news agency, mulling a gold trade deal. We'll talk about that. And also a weekly feature, stunning gold treasury finds. We have some very interesting archaeological finds regarding gold this week. Let's take a look at those. Before we get started, let's take a look at just the price action of gold and silver. Down for silver about 1.5%, basically unchanged for gold. That leaves the gold-silver ratio at 75.69 to 1. Here is a one-year gold-silver ratio chart showing how unsustainable the gold-silver ratio is above, 16 to 1, 8 to 1, whatever the silver bugs try to claim it needs to be. It's not going there, hasn't been there, and this year the trend is not heading down. As we mentioned, gold and silver, not the same metals. They have different properties, different uses. The relative rarity is only one component of value. It is not the dispositive component. There are many things that are rarer than other things, and they're not more expensive. So just keep that in mind. It's not investment advice. It's just a fact that gold and silver are different. They're different properties, different desire, even different colors. There's your pitch to donate to Smaulgld. If you're interested, I do appreciate. By the way, this week in review will eventually be a for-pay product. However, I will be giving special deals to Smaulgld patrons and those that have donated to Smaulgld in the past. And you can donate via PayPal, Bitcoin, Litecoin at the links below or on the Smaulgld site. And you can also become a Smaulgld patron the same way. Let's get to the top story here. This actually was the last story of last week's podcast, and many people don't get to the end of the podcast, so they probably never heard it, so I thought I'd start this week off with the same topic. There are a lot of people out there giving their opinion, warning people about Bitcoin, spending a lot of time talking about what they think about Bitcoin, and that's fine. However, one thing that I think is missed in all this is no matter what you say, markets rarely listen to individuals. And even then, only temporarily. We saw Jamie Dimon comes out, calls Bitcoin a fraud, the thing drops, and then it goes back up. Your tweets and opinions don't really matter on the price of anything. That's something obviously what I say doesn't matter. But the point is that in a market, it's only the participants in the market, those that are actually buying and selling, that matter. And the way I like to drive this point home is you could say, and you can line up 100 experts or 10 million people that have no interest in Bitcoin. You can show me polls. You can show me why most of the world just thinks it's a farce. That doesn't detract from its value. the value is only derived from those that give it value, not from those that detract it. So if you never buy Bitcoin or you never are interested in Bitcoin and you just spend your time bashing it, that's not going to make the price go down. Because if there are people that are interested in it and there are less Bitcoins available to satisfy the demand, the price goes up. Now that might change, and we're going to talk about that when we have the Bitcoin futures. But for now, I think the best analogy I can come up with is a newsletter. Some guy writes a newsletter, charges $1,500 a year. Well, I would say just about everyone in the world thinks that that's useless. It has no intrinsic value, just a bunch of words and symbols on a page, maybe a few charts. That has no value to anyone. And I can trash it, and you can trash it, and most people don't even know about it. But it doesn't matter. If there are 500 people who think that it's worth $1,500, it's worth $1,500. So I think that's a very important lesson I've learned myself, that I've come to, that it doesn't, for a market to go up, relies on people that want the asset that's in the market. It doesn't rely on the people who don't want it. If there are enough people that want it, like the newsletter, the guy may be able to charge $2,000 a year, even though most of the world may think that that newsletter is not only bad, a waste of money, but a fraud and a farce. So think what you will about Bitcoin, but that's not going to change the people that are actually interested in it and are buying it. And again, if you have clientele for your newsletter that are rich and they want to buy it, no one's going to stop them from buying it. You could trash it all you want. They're going to have to come to their own conclusion that it's not worth $1,500, $2,000. And the same thing could be with Bitcoin. You're not going to convince anyone that it's not worth $9,000. What does that mean, it's not worth it? If someone wants to buy it, that's what it's worth. That's simple economics, supply and demand, which we don't see in most markets. Now, there is a lot of pumping and dumping. There's no two ways about it. Most of the trades in Bitcoin are probably not legitimate trades. They're just algos going back and forth. However, you have that in the stock market too. And the last point on this before we go into what's going to happen with this COMEX futures on Bitcoin is, it's interesting that the gold promoters have stopped altogether promoting gold. They've either moved on and just left it in the dust and decided they're going to go pump cryptos, or they're still pumping gold, but they're just making up stories about game changers, and the stories really don't help. Or they've spent their time no longer promoting gold and silver and just bashing Bitcoin. Well, none of those are actually providing real information. In the first instance, they're not providing any information because they're just promoting Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. In the second case, they're just hyping and pumping stuff that long-term isn't going to prove out. So basically, you get somebody interested in gold on some game changer, shock the world story. That's not valuable. And then if you spend your time as a gold promoter or a silver promoter just bashing Bitcoin, that's not going to get you gold or silver sales either. So it's an interesting dynamic, and that's probably why gold sales are down, because people that like gold, people that like silver, they're not buying it in the United States. And every time I get a comment that's not true, well, it is true, because no one's buying through my site. I've seen the other dealers, I've seen the US Mint numbers. People are not buying, and you can make up all the reasons why they're not buying. They just aren't. And part of that is because I think, and this is not one of them, I am not a gold promoter, a gold or silver promoter site. I'm not a Bitcoin promoter. I'm trying to provide analysis on what's happening in the markets. But the promoters, I think the gold and silver promoters, have done a horrible job, wasting their time bashing Bitcoin, wasting their time concocting ridiculous stories instead of talking about the relative values of gold versus silver or gold versus other asset classes. All right, let's take a look now. So this Bitcoin futures thing may change everything I just said, because people will come into the market now, perhaps, with a futures. And these are people that weren't in the market but had an opinion. They didn't like Bitcoin. Well, now they can make their opinion part of the market, whereas before it was a lot harder for them to make their opinion felt. So now you can have people coming into the market and saying, look, Bitcoin's a waste of time. Bitcoin's a waste. I'm not interested. You're now giving the ability of somebody to short an investment newsletter and say, look, that guy writes crap. I want to short it. And you may have an impact on price. However, the interesting thing about the COMEX futures is when you have a gold and silver futures contract, that basically drives the market, and whenever COMEX is open is basically when they can influence the market. And then they can also have off-hours trading, again on futures, not on physical supply and demand, and that drives the price. This COMEX product is not going to be traded on weekends, but as you know, there are dozens of Bitcoin, Litecoin, cryptocurrency exchanges that trade 24/7. So it may be, and I know they're going to have some type of 20% up and 20% down limits, but this could be a real problem with the people holding futures into the weekend. They may have to close out their positions. I don't know. I think it's going to be messy, and I'm not sure COMEX knows what they're getting into by creating a system that doesn't track the 24/7 character of the crypto markets. And you know, if you over the weekend, like today, the price of Bitcoin has gone from like 8,600 to 9,200. I haven't even checked; it's probably higher now. Get away from it. You can cause some real imbalances in the COMEX. And there was one guy, he was on Fast Money. He was saying, and I agree with him, that they may not be able to handle a major move one way or the other. You talk about busting the COMEX collapse. He was saying this thing could collapse the economy. I think he's a bit hyperbolic, but I think you could have problems with COMEX if things... It's not a market. They think they're going to tame the market by bringing in the futures, but the futures are not, they don't have anything to do with physical settlement. Not that you can settle a Bitcoin physically, but actually they're just cash settled. There's no Bitcoins delivered one way or the other. So it's going to be even more divorced, I think, than the gold futures contracts, because at least in the gold and silver futures contracts, the traders are there with the expectation that they're not getting any silver, they're not getting any gold, they're just trading price exposure, and that is the market. COMEX is going to have to become the market in order to make that dynamic work. Otherwise, they're going to be not the tail wagging the dog, but they're going to be the tail. And people could get caught up in their futures. I don't know. Let me know what you think. I'm trying to make sense of what might happen. The contract I saw looks like it's for 5 Bitcoin. There's also other futures exchanges. There's Ledger X that has they had a $10,000 contract. It's physically settled. So I don't know how big that one will get, but we'll see what happens. But the futures market so far, the existence of it coming into play, has all been positive for the price of Bitcoin. But we'll see if they get involved in naked shorting and so on. Also, it will be a lot easier to expose the lack of any type of correspondence to the futures price to the physically available Bitcoin. The way they hide it with gold is, obviously the gold market is trillions of dollars, and there are 170,000 tons. There are about 4.3 billion ounces of silver. So they can cover trades. They can make it look like all this gold is being traded. But you really can't do that with Bitcoin. If there's only going to be 10 at the most million Bitcoin available for trade or delivery at any one point, which I doubt it's even that high. So I think you can cause a lot. The market is already volatile, and I don't think that the futures contract is going to change anything. And if it does, well, then you're going to see some type of explosion in the non-futures trading cryptocurrencies like Ethereum and Litecoin and all the others. So if somehow Bitcoin becomes tainted with this contract, then the money will just flow. The physical money will flow elsewhere. So I think this is going to be a very wild ride as we move into 2018. All right, so they're saying now that this Bitcoin futures are coming later in the year. That I don't think they have a date yet set. Now here's something we mentioned at the top of the the post about all this gold pumping. Alert, major alert. Shock the world. Here's one story here. One of the two largest banks in Switzerland just refused to hand over clients' physical gold. Even more surprising what the client did yet. Next, he called the cops. Okay. And then they gave him his gold. This type of story is a non-story. We all know that the banks are corrupt. It's not going to change the price of gold that this guy, even if he didn't get his gold, all it's going to make people realize is don't put your money with these bullion banks. We've got bigger evidence that the banks are fraudulent than some guy going into a bank and not getting his gold back. You know, what is the point? But this is an alert. It's a major, it's a double, triple, major alert, shock the world. And somehow people don't make the connection that it's really nothing. Yeah, it's not good for the guy who didn't get his gold, but it really is not a story. It's not going to change the price of gold. And we see this time and time again, and the gold community gets all worked up about it. Oh, it's game over. The bullion banks or the elite are scared. They're losing control. No, they're not. Guy got his gold back, and they're still in existence. And as I say here, even if the guy, even if this is all a true story, so what? Gold's not going anywhere because the guy didn't get his gold back. Double major alert. Now, the question is, do these types of stories help or hurt gold demand? And I did a poll on this, and I actually think that they hurt. I think that the results are here. I did a poll on this. Some people think they help, and I guess it's people who hold gold or silver. They somehow think this is great. This is a great story. This never happened before. It's unprecedented. You know, it's going to shock the world. And we've seen these stories before, and nothing has happened. COMEX default imminent. Silver shortage. Gold-silver ratio unsustainable. Shemitah. Elite losing control. Sovereign-sized gold buy in 45 days. Any of this sound familiar? Mexican monetization of silver. Gold back yuan. Pump, pump, pump. Never, never ends. And no one ever learns. People love these stories. They promote these stories. And the price goes nowhere. But manipulation. Okay, but manipulation. Are you not aware of manipulation? Manipulation has been well documented. We know what happens. Naked shorting, so on. Okay, let's go to Russia. It's the same thing here. So I put out a monthly report on Russia's gold, People's Bank of China's gold, India's imports of gold, and I track the numbers. It's interesting. No one ever disputes the Russian numbers because they're going up. No one in the gold community says, oh, they're lying. They're not buying all that gold. No, they're lying. It's only when you show negative numbers that people get all excited. Don't trust official numbers, but these Russian numbers from the Russian Central Bank, they're as good as gold. Why? Because they show them going up. Okay. Now, I report on it every month. And yes, Russia is now the 6th largest gold holding nation among central banks. They will probably pass China early in 2018. But the implications that people make from this is beyond fantasy. So this gold that Russia has, this 1,800 tons, is worth $75 billion. It's nothing in the scheme of things. But then you get the, oh, they're smart. They know what's coming. They've got inside knowledge. There's going to be a reset. That's why they're buying gold. No, that's not why they're buying gold. They're just increasing the gold as a percentage of reserves. It's up to about 17%. In fact, we're going to see, they actually say why they're buying gold. They're not buying it because they think there's going to be a reset and gold is going to be involved in the international monetary, so SDRs and all this other nonsense, and that they know that the world is going to collapse and the gold is going to protect them. Well, there is an element of protecting themselves. And they are trying to diversify away from the dollar. But it's not because of these fantastical scenarios that they know gold is going to be $50,000. And okay, so do they know something we don't? This is relating to Russia buying gold. And the answer is yes, they know Russian. And most of us don't. So this kind of story, I put them out. And again, when I put out that India has a big month in gold and silver imports, everyone in the gold and silver community, they tout this. This is wonderful. This is evidence of stunning and surging demand, and you can't keep the price of silver down forever. I put out a story about Russia buying a lot of gold one month, Everyone wants to talk about it. But God forbid I put out a story that says Russia didn't buy any gold this month. No one's going to cover that. They won't say they're lying because they're hoping the next month they buy some. But it just shows the amount of inference that people place on data and how they skew it to mean gold 50,000, or they get their hopes up. And again, I'm not here to provide hope, and I'm not here to provide despair. I'm just here to provide maybe some objective analysis on what these numbers mean. And of course, if you put out numbers that might mean something negative, well, then they're lying, and you can't trust those numbers. But here's what Russian central bank officials said about why they're increasing their gold. It's a matter of national security. And this makes sense. Their financial situation is precarious in many regards because they're just basically an oil-producing nation. That's where most of their money comes from. They're reliant on trade with China. They have sanctions put on them, so they need to secure their finances with gold. It's not because they expect the world to collapse and they're going to get rich. They're really, the Central Bank of Russia, the woman who runs it, I can't pronounce her name, but she's very prudent. And they've been rebuilding their reserves. They're trying to get inflation under control. And they're doing the best they can with the economy that they have. But it's not based on they want to rule the gold world. Russia has other things to worry about other than gold. Same with China. And that's where most people, that's how they think of Russia and China, that they're both out there. All they think about is gold. All right. Crypto hippies ride prices higher. So all during the week, you had all these. Look, you had Litecoin 74. Litecoin, I think, is $87 now. All the prices just keep rising and rising. Bitcoin was like $8,200 at the beginning of the week. Litecoin was $7,200. Bitcoin is up $1,000 in a week. Litecoin is pure and good. World unite around the light. Litecoin is life. Look at it. Hippies, crypto hippies love this. Here's Ethereum. This was like a big deal. Ethereum rose from like 350 to 372. It rose to 475 earlier this week. So the crypto hippies are definitely digging on the scene here. There you go. Far out. This guy's got his Ethereum. Here's the Litecoin elevation dance. These crypto hippies are trying to make the Litecoin go higher. It was 72, then it was 78, then it was 86. I think it's 88 today. Now, Valley Low versus Cliff High. People don't know about Valley Low. He runs the Wishbot. And the Wishbot involves memory sets. And the concept is know the past and wish for a better future. And Valley Low is actually far superior to Cliff High's analysis because here, Valley Low, he picked up on the Litecoin levitation dance back in 1969 at the Woodstock Festival, presaging the future Litecoin surge. Valley Low also, his memory sets, when he goes back and takes a look at all the old data, he does it in all languages, and he's got a staff that understands. So it's not, you know, so if something big is happening in Korea with Litecoin, Valley Low's memory sets are going to pick that up. So the Wishbot will be able to say, look, Litecoin's going to go up based on what we see happening or we saw happening in Korea. Also, Valley Low never, ever, ever predicted $600 silver. Why? Because Valley Low's memory sets picked up the word manipulation, or somehow Cliff High's Webbot, I don't know, wasn't looking for manipulation and therefore continued to predict $600. All right, here's some more hippies here. They're waiting for the next Bitcoin pump, and it finally came, man. Waiting was a bummer, but they've been rewarded. Here's a crypto hippie blowing bubbles. 8,000 high. Here's a crypto hippie dancing when Bitcoin hit 8,300. And here we go. So, yeah, the Bitcoin hippies had a big week. Woohoo, party, far out, groovy, right on. Look at that. Litecoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin, all going higher and higher. Don't worry, be hippie. Yep. So lots of movement in the Bitcoin, Litecoin. And it doesn't matter how many people don't like it. The crypto hippies like it, and that's why it's going higher. Now, Coinbase, we've talked about this. They now have 13.2 million accounts. I think Fidelity Investments has 75 million. And by the way, Fidelity Investments integrates Coinbase's interface on their site. So if you have a Fidelity account, you can also check your Coinbase account at the same time. Now, that to me is a sign that Fidelity wants to do crypto trading. And they're seeing 13.2 million accounts that aren't theirs. And I think they either want to buy Coinbase or they want to set up their own crypto trade, and they're trying to learn. This idea that somehow they're going to regulate this and they're going to ban it, no way. They're not going to arrest 13.2 million people. What they want to do, governments, is regulate. Banning stuff never works. Banning is expensive. It's the cost of enforcement. You lose tax revenue. What they want is, look, get people on Coinbase. Make Coinbase send out the whatever form it is to pay your taxes on it, and get people to buy these things, these cryptocurrencies. Collect taxes. Let Fidelity trade cryptocurrencies. Let Fidelity make money. See, there's jobs in this stuff too. There's all types of work in the technology, high-paying jobs in the crypto economy. So the more crypto hippies you can hire and the more you can get them to pay taxes, that's what governments want to do. Unless you're North Korea and you want to control everything, you want to shut everything down. I just don't see that happening. I see when you get these major... COMEX isn't doing a Bitcoin futures because they're anticipating Bitcoin being banned. I think I see this all the time now. Yeah, the time to have done... If you wanted to ban Bitcoin, the time to have banned it was before all these other cryptocurrencies came out, all before all the ICOs came out, all before Bitcoin was $9,000, $10,000. Not now. Not when there's a proven money spinner here, proven tax revenue, proven job creator. It's just, it doesn't make any sense to even think that that's what's going to happen. Sure, they're going to arrest people for tax evasion. But that doesn't mean they want to stop the ability for people to make money so they can collect their taxes. Now, the Bitcoin-Litecoin ratio is still, even though Litecoin had a surge, is at 100 to 1. And the thing about Bitcoin and Litecoin is Bitcoin are 21 million and Litecoin are 84 million. So there's basically Litecoin is a clone of Bitcoin. It's not like silver and gold where they're two separate metals. Bitcoin is Litecoin and it benefits from, Litecoin is Bitcoin and benefits from the same development work that the Bitcoin developers do. And it's just 4 times more numerous. It's actually faster to use and cheaper to use than Bitcoin. And yet the price is 100 to 1. Now, this is not a rational market, but eventually, if it ever becomes one might expect, if it matures and it's a normal market, that Litecoin will be priced 4 times less, not 100 times less. There's the hippies there. Yeah, Bitcoin on steroids. You got now. Some people would say this is a sign of a bubble because who is Jose Canseco? He's an old baseball player. He had a lot of home runs. He basically admitted to steroid use. And he's saying Bitcoin by 10,000 by 2018. He's probably right. I haven't checked. It probably will get there by the end of the year. So Bitcoin on steroids. I noted, but I did not make a prediction on Bitcoin. I said yesterday or 2 days ago that fund managers are acting like me too. They're going to add cryptocurrencies to their portfolio so they can tell their clients they were in cryptos in 2017. I think 2 people retweeted that, 3 people liked it. About 16 hours later, Max Kaiser said the same thing, but he put in a price quote. What did he say? He put in a price quote, said it was going to go to 12,000 because of that. And of course, because he has more followers and because he knows how to promote far better than I do, his exact prediction, like mine, got 234 likes and 122 retweets. So definitely can learn from Max Kaiser. See, he sent his out 11:48 on the 25th, and I sent mine out at 4:48 in the morning. So hours and hours later, and there you go. Bitcoin regulation. This is my point about regulation. South Korea and Bitcoin. South Korean finance watchdog has no plans to regulate Bitcoin trading. Okay, so there's going to be this global roundup of people that trade and buy Bitcoin and Litecoin and cryptocurrencies. they're going to do a tax cull, that's for sure. And there's people out there that probably made so much money, and like hippies, they just decided, wow, man, we don't got to pay taxes on this, man. And they're going to get caught, and, you know, they'll have to pay. Or maybe they won't get caught. But I think what they're going to do is make it so that, make it easier for you to pay. And if it's easier for you to pay, better for them. They don't have to chase you down, and they make the money. I don't, so that's a win-win for everyone. And sure, there'll always be ways to avoid it. There's going to be lightning swaps and off exchange, decentralized exchange, in person. And yes, they'll do stings and they'll try to catch these people. But for the most part, if this crypto thing goes mainstream, 95, 99% of the people will just do what they do on their brokerage accounts. They buy stuff, they sell stuff, they make money, they lose money, and they report it. I know that doesn't tie into the crypto hippie mentality that this is going to end central banks and destroy governments. But governments aren't stupid. They know they can co-opt this thing. They can make it part of the payment system. And that's where Wall Street comes in. Wall Street doesn't want to come in and crush itself and crush JP Morgan and all the other banks that are going to be involved in this. This is a dream come true that maybe they even invent. Who knows? But they can make a fortune off of doing this, trading it. There's no way they're going to make it illegal. Bermuda, here. Government of Bermuda launches cryptocurrency task force. They're trying to figure out how they could be the place where everyone goes to do cryptocurrency. President of Belarus expected to sign decree to legalize cryptocurrencies. They're not looking to get rid of this. They want control over it. Now, whether they can co-opt it or not is not the point. The point is, they're not, in my mind, most countries are not all going to get together and say, you know what, this is a big threat. We got to stop it. They've already said, the central banks, first of all, it's too small right now to bother with. And if it does get big enough, they think what they're going to do is create their own cryptocurrencies. Fine. And they can make their own cryptocurrencies legal tender, and most people will use them. But you'll still have these privately issued cryptocurrencies, which, by the way, they're less of a threat to government when they're not even being used as currencies. They're being held as assets. They're no different than if you bought Pets.com or Amazon or Tesla. So you own a stock. The difference is you can spend them, which may create, you know, somewhat of a currency out of them. But as they are now, I mean, no one spends them. When I say no one, I mean, that's not what's giving them value, is their use. What's giving them value is people are just holding on to them. And if people are holding on to them, they're not really circulating as currency, not really a threat to governments. Swiss National Bank, here. Bitcoin is more investment than currency. He's right. Here are your Ethereum hippies. There they are. Now, I did see something. There's this guy, Novogratz. He's a huge fortress. He used to be part of an investment company. He jumped ship to do his own. He's going to set up a crypto fund. And he's been touting Bitcoin, but also other coins. And he says, I see Ethereum making new highs shortly. And it was like $320 when he said it back on November 21st. 4 or 5 days, it jumped to 475. So, as I say, normally what people say don't impact the markets unless you're actually a guy who can do something. And remember, Novogratz is in the market. It's not just some guy like Jamie Dimon who's not in the market saying Bitcoin sucks, Bitcoin is a fraud. That's temporary. But this guy says Ethereum's going up. Yeah, because he's going to buy it. So there is a difference when I say that the people, what they say has limited impact and it doesn't last. Yes, except when, you know, Warren Buffett comes out and says Apple is the greatest thing, and every week he says Apple's the greatest thing. Well, if he's buying Apple, well, yes, then what he says makes it go up. But generally, people just yakking about stuff has very limited impact, and it's very temporary. Here's a chart here. This shows Ethereum actually is where the most of the volume is. Now, what do we have? We've got some Chinese stuff. I'll get to that in a minute. Dogecoin. Now, this is coin set up as a joke. It actually rose like 40-50% last year. And the Dogecoin, see, there he is there. The mascot for the Dogecoin is the Shiba Inu shrub dog of Japan. Very iconic now to those that follow Doge. Yeah, here's Draghi. Digital currencies are no threat to the ECB yet. And that's what what's her name? Christine Lagarde, head of the IMF, said back in September when we covered that story here. She said, Bitcoin currently poses no threat to fiat and central banks. It's too volatile, too risky, too energy intensive, underlying technology is not scalable. So basically central banks are pretending this doesn't exist and it's going to go away. Now, it's possible if things develop to the point where it is a threat. Yes, then you might see all these banning. But right now, all it is a craze. And people are excited about the technology and they're just picking coins and buying them. It's not really a threat. The threat is that it's a bubble, but it's not. Well, it is, but the amount of money that's going to get lost if this thing collapses tomorrow is not going to impact the economy. It's not like the housing bubble. It's not like a stock market crash. It's just Bitcoin. So they're right. Bitcoin is small now. And that's why it has a long way to go, because they're saying it's not a problem now. It's got to be probably 10 times the size before it becomes significant enough to be paying attention to. And it might get there. It might get there in 3 months. But now here's something stupid. Bank of Paribas, BNP, says that Bitcoin is a problem because it doesn't have monetary policy, doesn't have a lender of last resort. Yeah, that's the point. No monetary policy. Well, what are we going to do? What horror. That misses the point entirely there. Yeah, here is Bitcoin, I think, is going to rise, and I think it'll gain fiat appreciation. And I think banks like Visa, MasterCard, they want to grab and promote the trading of cryptocurrencies on their platform. We have 10x, we have other types of ICOs that basically allow you to store your cryptocurrency on a banking card so you can spend it like, quote, real money. So I think the banks and the governments are trying to incorporate and co-opt Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. And I don't think they're trying to stop it in any way, shape, or form. Look, if they wanted to stop it, the SEC would have said, no way, Jose, you're not getting to do regulated Bitcoin. Unless they think that somehow by allowing the CME group, the COMEX, to have a Bitcoin futures that they can crush it and basically end it. But I don't think that's the case. I think CME group is in it to make money, and so are the bankers that are going to trade those futures. Yeah, just a quick note on Bitcoin. When people like an asset like gold or Bitcoin, they don't see any flaws in it whatsoever. And, it is and it isn't at the same time. And you just can't explain to somebody that there are issues with Bitcoin. Yeah, but, well, no, there are issues with Bitcoin. There's issues with every asset. But once you get to the point of fanaticism, you can't talk to somebody who thinks that 2 plus 2 equals Bitcoin 10 million or 2 plus 2 equals gold. Just an observation, and that's how I run this channel. I try to be objective and try to show the facts. And if there is something that is negative about gold or Bitcoin or silver, I'm going to point it out. I'm not going to harp on it and bash it and say this is why you never go near silver or never go near Bitcoin. And if there's positive things about it, mention them too. All right, now here's something. Citibank predicts new normal of geopolitical risks will likely boost gold prices. Well, I don't know, because we have had these threats of nuclear. I don't think people take these geopolitical threats seriously, or if they do, they don't think gold as a result. However, what people are missing, the gold price is up this year, and so is the silver price. It's not like gold and silver have been dumped and they're going down and cryptos are going higher. They're having a good year this year, just no one's paying attention. You should be happy with a 10% rise in the price of gold this year, but when people are seeing 1,800%, 4,900% gains, and they say, what is this gold stuff? China and debt. Back to my favorite topic. Which will come first? Chinese debt crisis, gold-backed yuan. Neither will happen. I'm going to vote for a Chinese crisis. Let's see what that is. Of course there's going to be a Chinese debt crisis. Or maybe there isn't. But there's certainly not going to be a gold-backed yuan with all the problems that they're having right now. Throw a monkey wrench into what they're doing. Let's see. There you go. Well, at least my followers, 62 votes, think there'll be a Chinese debt crisis. There's still 16% that think there will be a gold-backed yuan game changer. Shock the world. All right. Last week we talked about the Chinese bike sharing economy. I don't know, they have Alibaba invested $1 billion. Some other company invested in $1 billion. Ding Ding Bikes was one. I don't know what the other one was called. But one of them went out of business. But take a look at this picture. These are the bikes. They have too many of them. So what are they going to do with them? They don't need this, whatever metal is in here, because they've probably already mined more of this metal just to drive their mining industry. So this is a classic sign of, you talk about the United States, you think, oh, we're screwed up, we borrowed too much money, collapse of the dollar. This kind of stuff doesn't happen in America. This is crazy. This is just the bike industry. You can imagine what it's like in all their other industries, how they brought like 70 years worth of demand forward, building ghost cities and bridges to nowhere. This is just central planning gone amok. And this is my words. Chinese bike share graveyard, a monument to industry's arrogance. Well, don't think. This isn't Sun Tzu. This is the reality of central planning. This is what's going on in the rest of the economy. Not some type of Sun Tzu art of war, crush the dollar mentality. There you go. China is pumping a lot of cash into its economy to calm investors. Yeah, gold-backed yuan, crush the dollar. Gold money, despite all its issues, they know that your average person in China may want to get involved in gold, and where better to go and open up a business. So Gold Money has announced joint venture letter of intent with Zhaojing Mining to launch Gold Money in China. Good luck to those guys. There should be plenty of opportunity there. Gold fund to invest in cryptocurrencies. Well, and I think the idea here is this is the Old Mutual Gold and Silver Fund. I think it's run by, it's got like 6 names, Ned Layler, James Taylor, or something like that. And I think from reading of the article, they might want to shed some of their mining shares and buy cryptocurrencies, which makes sense in some respects. And that mining shares are highly speculative, as are cryptocurrencies, but one's going up, the other's not. As I guess as long as the anchor is physical metal, they feel comfortable doing that. Now here are the gold finds of the week. Hoard of, and you can click on these. They're in the blog post. You can check them out. You can see the pictures. I'm not going to show them to you here. Hoard of gold and silver buried in York County in Pennsylvania. So that's a very interesting story you can check out. I think I sent these to Salivate Metal. He may do a thing on them. I might not have. If not, you can go and check out the article. Gold leaf cut from Napoleon's crown smashes expectation at auction. Look at that. That's beautiful. Huh? I think they sold that for €500 million or something more than that. 625,000 euro, which is over £500 million. It's probably about, it's more than that in dollars. So, and not more than, it's more than, no, it's actually about $500 million in dollars, because the pound is more than the dollar and the euro is also a little bit more than $1. Egyptian box filled with gold treasure finally opened after 90-year wait. Look at that. This is from the Pharaoh's tomb, 340 years. I got all the gold in there. You can check out those. Also, we had some thieves and some smuggling busts. There you go. I don't think this guy had these hidden where the sun don't shine, but he definitely tried to smuggle these into the airport in India. Here's a story. Adam's Adventures panning for gold in the Kern River. If you're interested in, this is a place you can go for free, and this is in California. You can stick your pan in there and try to get some gold. Bitcoin as a prepper doomsday currency. This was very interesting. This was saying that preppers are starting to switch from gold to Bitcoin. And to me, I don't know if that makes any sense, because, well, it depends on the, if in a true apocalypse, gold, Bitcoin are useless. I mean, what are you going to do with them? Depends on the nature and the level of the disaster. So, for example, I had some interesting comments on this one. If there's going to be a flood in your area, well, you know, if you've somehow got, I don't know, boxes of silver, you're not going to be able to, you could, I guess you can just round them up and load them into your truck. Now you got to travel with monster boxes of silver. Or, as one astute follower of mine said, you just pack up the house, go with your Bitcoin, and go to a nice hotel. When it dries out, you go home. Yeah, in that example, I think he's right. But In other examples, you may be better off. For example, in an EMP attack, you certainly aren't better off with a Bitcoin. You can't use it. If the internet goes down, electricity goes out, you're not better off with Bitcoin. So it depends. But interesting to discuss. You can have your thoughts below if you'd like. Be interesting. Fake moon landing. I don't cover this stuff. I just thought it was interesting. But this apparently shows a reflection. This is one of the last moon landings, supposed moon landings. And they're trying to say that they didn't land on the moon. Now, here's this is another one of my Smaulgld subscribers' very intelligent comments here. This is Fernando, who's been interviewed on the Smaulgld channel. He said, look, the Soviets had technical capability to track the radio communications from the astronauts while on the moon. If the transmissions didn't originate from the moon, they would have known, and they would have happily exposed the fraud to the world. Again, I'm not promoting the Apollo moon landing theory at all. That's one that I've looked at, and I'm not convinced that, they say, well, they've lost the technology. One guy says they don't know how to land on the moon anymore. To me, everything I've seen about rockets and things that they've done, it doesn't seem like it's beyond the scope of being able to do. Anything's possible. I don't know enough about it, but that one I'm not sold on, that theory. Now, China's debt surge may increase financial crisis. This is Bloomberg. The potential, this is what I say is the potential catalyst that could drive gold higher, not gold back yuan. You have a crisis in China, the world's going to have a crisis. That's when you'll see fireworks in gold, not from gold back yuan. Game changer, shock the world. Also, I think physical gold jewelry holds the key to gold demand, not investment demand, as that demand is satisfied by ETFs, digital, paper gold, and other gold substitutes. But there is no substitute for a ring on your finger, necklace around your neck, whatever else people wear for jewelry. And demand for gold in China has increased in the form of jewelry. So there's, I think, the hope for physical gold demand, not investment demand, because it seems that investment demand largely is handled through synthetic paper, digital gold. Now, what do we have here? So we saw that China, to lay off 2 million people in their in their mining, coal mining and steel industry. Now, the reason they're doing that, they're claiming, is they want to become green. Well, yeah, they want to invest zillions of more dollars they don't have in green energy, and they also realize that they probably don't need any more steel, or who knows what they're doing. It's all centrally planned. But now they're going to cut 2 million workers, and they're going to pay them. Obviously, because if you fire 2 million Chinese and they have no social network, they're going to riot. What else are they going to do? They have no jobs, so they're going to pay them off. Well, where are they going to get that money from? Not to worry. They've got money somewhere. Here's one. Skype vanishes from app stores in China, including Apple's. Well, there's your free internet. You can't talk on Skype. I just don't get this Chinese worship of their God. They're better than the United States. You can point out all the differences you want about all the problems the United States has, internet censorship, too much debt. They go 100-fold when you step over to China. What analysts are saying about the sudden drop in Chinese stocks. Just need to pump more money in there. Gold back yuan. Game changer. Just a quick thought. When you think you're making a bank deposit, you are actually depositing money. You're not actually depositing money, but often just loaning money to an insolvent entity. The reason I wrote that is because we saw the ECB trying to get rid of depositor protection. They shouldn't even call it depositor protection. It's loaning money to insolvent banks, and then them saying, so sorry, that's our money because we have debts. Now, we're going to cover a couple of really dumb articles and comments I saw this week. Newsweek. First of all, they had a story last week about why it was scientifically proven that Donald Trump's hands are too small to hold a water bottle because he took a sip of water with two hands. But then it got worse. Then they said how murderer Charles Manson and President Donald Trump used similar language to gain followers. So now Donald Trump isn't just literally Hitler, he's literally Charles Manson, according to Newsweek. And I ask, how did Charles Manson hold a water bottle? Maybe he held it just like Trump. Oh, okay, debt time bomb. This is CNBC. This is corporate debt is nearly equal to half of U.S. debt of U.S. GDP, and while not a problem now, a slump in the economy could turn into worry. I would bet that this corporate debt in the U.S., a lot of it is taken out to buy back their own shares. And if that's the case, they can use that Chinese accounting. Remember from last week where the debt incurred was so long in the future and probably they never pay it back, so they just classify it as equity. So maybe the U.S. companies can recharacterize all the debt they incurred to buy back their own shares as equity, because after all, they bought shares with it, therefore it's equity. Bricks and gold. This is the story I mentioned at the top of the hour. Now, this is from TASS, so you can take it with the same grain of propaganda salt. They talk about the gold back yuan too. There is something to this, though, because the Chinese and the Russians have been dealing with gold not just as payment, but also Russia sells and has arrangements to sell gold to China. Russia and China have arrangements to develop Russia's mining industry and to find new sources of gold. So China is definitely working Russia to get more gold, and maybe they do some payments in gold as well. But I don't think they're looking to. I mean, the idea of gold, just like Bitcoin, is people want to have it to hold it. They generally don't want to be trading it around. Not if they don't have to. I mean, why would China want to trade gold if they can get the rest of the world to, or their trading partners to accept yuan? Now, Russia has that interest because it has sanctions. It figures it can use something else. But Russia isn't accumulating all that gold every month from its own domestic miners so they can trade it away. They're doing that as reserves. They're not doing that as for a payment system. So I'm not sure that this story means anything other than it definitely has origin in the fact that Russia and China have a gold investment partnership. They have a gold trade agreement where China buys gold from Russia, and Russia's the second largest gold producer. China's the first. China keeps its gold in-house, right in the country, and Russia adds 60, 70, 80% of it to its reserves, and probably has a little extra left over that it wants to make some cash off of and sell it to China, and they probably are going to do that with the additional gold that they find in mine, is probably sell it for a profit to China. Okay, there's another find here. KGB finds anti-Bolshevik soldier hid boxes of Nicholas's gold. Another story you can check out. These should all be in the same place, but they're not. More gold finds. Ancient Chinese tombs reveal treasures of gold and jewels in chamber of 800-year-old couple buried together for eternity. So there you go. Another story you can click on and check out. Janet, this is, I mentioned it's a couple of stupid articles. This one, guy at MarketWatch writes, Janet Yellen was a true populist, representing the interests of ordinary people. No way. No way. Janet Yellen, are you crazy? First of all, fine art, stocks, luxury homes soared under Janet Yellen. And the middle class basically just had higher rent, healthcare costs higher. This is the equivalent of doublespeak. This is the mainstream media praising Greenspan as the maestro or Bernanke as the hero. This is nuts to try to say Janet Yellen. Yeah, she does talk a good game. She did talk about how she wanted to help people and all that nonsense. Those policies didn't help the average person. They definitely helped the 1%, as Bernie Sanders would say. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Oh, we got more of this gold back yuan. So here we go. Launch of oil's futures and China's currency is important. Despite stories to the contrary, this looks like it's happening soon, according to Sputnik News. Yeah, well, we've seen how this story has been promoted as going to happen, gold back yuan, and then We saw a lot of people run away from it and say, oh, no, 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 no. Gold's not coming from China. The gold will come from outside China. It's going to create gold demand. And now it looks like some people are saying the story is back on the table. Gold back, Yuan. Game changer. Yep. COMEX default. Silver shortage. Shemitah elite losing control. Sovereign size gold by this pumping stuff never, ever, ever ends. And really, it doesn't help the gold price. One of our final stories. This was astounding. So there's this woman. She's got, I don't know, she did some type of movie and she's given a TED talk. And she's against bullying, which is fine. That's a good thing to be against. And, you know, she's for equal treatment of women. And okay, that's a good thing too. And she tweeted out, unpopular opinion, she said, I'm not actually concerned at all about innocent men losing their jobs over false sexual assault harassment allegations. Now, think about this. She's not concerned if someone is innocent, and we know that the accusations are false. And then she went on to rationalize something to do with they get away with it because of white supremacy or some other nonsense. Now, if you're against bullying, that is the most anti-bullying statement you can make. You know, we might as well just accuse men in general because some of them are guilty. And if we do this enough and we make false accusations, then maybe they'll stop. Okay, now, my reaction to that is, Miss Emily, why don't we just arrest everyone called Emily? Because after all, I'm sure a lot of Emilys have probably committed crimes. So this is a lack of, I think, judgment where people, they follow people who identify an issue. I mean, who's not for, well, some people are, but who's not for equal rights for women? Who's not for being, you know, stopping bullying? Who's not for a cleaner environment? You know, all the nice things that you want. But that doesn't mean someone who's identified an issue, that the solution that they present is the right one. And clearly, I don't think anyone with their right mind would think, well, the best way to stop sexual harassment is not to define it, is not to try to prohibit it, try to punish wrongdoers. No, it's just to make a lot of false accusations against innocent men, and then maybe they'll stop. So it's, to me, just a sign of the times is the lack of the ability to connect problem and solution. No one's saying that there's not an issue with harassment or bullying, but the way you solve these things is not, look, there's such a problem, we might as well just deal with them in an uneven-handed way, and then, you know, we'll get rid of them. Yeah, well, once you start thinking like that, as I mentioned, you could just turn it against you. You know, you may fall into a category where, you know, Emily's are the problem. You know, we've seen 3 Emilys got arrested in the last 10 years for something really bad, so we got to stop that. And then we saw some, what was this story here? There was no card counting allowed at the casino. I think what happened here was a UK trader was fined £60,000 for outsmarting the algos. Now, that is, to me, is akin to no card counting at the casino. You go to a casino and you pay 21. If you're smart enough, you can figure out what cards are coming next. But they don't want you to figure it out. They want it to be a game of chance, and it's not a chance if you figure it out. It looks like the same thing with this trader. He figured out what the algos are doing. Well, they're part of the market. He should be allowed to profit, but yet he was fined £60,000. Goo Goo Dolls. People lost their minds on Twitter over this. They were labeled as, I think Matt Lauer called them classic rock as they went by in the Thanksgiving Day parade. Well, you know, classic rock is considered before the Goo Goo Dolls. It's considered, you know, the period of the 60s and 70s. But these guys came out in the early 90s. People lost their mind. But you know what? They are classic rock. They're old enough. They're like Pearl Jam and Soundgarden. I call them, you can call them grunge, whatever you want to call them. They're now classic rock. They're 25, 30 years old almost. So here you go in Texas. Leander gets the Gold State Administered Bullion Depository. Jobs there. And that about does it for the week. So thank you very much for sticking with it. the whole time. And if you want to become a patron, I know you do, please consider doing that. Also, please like and subscribe to this YouTube, this VidMe, and to this BitChute. By the way, the VidMe has a tip cup. No one's bothered to tip. I think you can tip $2 there, so I'd appreciate that. Just nice to see that people are supporting not just Smaulgld, but the alternative channels like VidMe and BitChute, because eventually I think the goal is to migrate away from these platforms that don't like to they like to censor things. So I'd like to be on a platform where they don't do that. Thank you very much for listening.